Welcome back to Opinion Journal Live. I'm Dan Henninger with our Foreign Affairs columnist, Brett Stevens. So, Brett, it's a big subject right now where Egypt is going. Obviously, what Mohamed Morsi did, excuse me, caught a lot of people by surprise. Do you think that what we're seeing here is the gradual disintegration of the idea underlying the Arab Spring, which was more public participation, citizen participation in the governing of a Middle Eastern country like Egypt?
Well, there was always a contradiction, Dan, at the heart of the Arab Spring, which is to say that the party that could garner the most votes in most Arab countries, that is, parties affiliated with the Muslim Brotherhood, the most popular parties, were all, in one way or another, opposed to the very idea underlying the liberal democratic order. So you could either have a populism that yielded a kind of dictatorship, or some sort of dictatorship that might yield a more liberal public square. And that's what you had in Turkey for a while. That's in a sense what you also had in Egypt under Hosni Mubarak. I mean, we're not talking about Swiss democracy or Canadian democracy, but that was the choice that was really there on offer. There was this idea out there that the liberals were going to dominate, or the Muslim Brotherhood was going to become a responsible stakeholder in the democratic order. Those ideas were fantasies to anyone who had spent more than a minute in Egypt and studied what was going on.
Let me ask you this, though. As we were just showing on screen, there were significant demonstrations in Egypt over the weekend, and it at least suggested that a lot of the splintered non-Islamic parties had come together and had sort of coalesced around one idea, which was opposition to what President Morsi had done. Both the public and private press has denounced it. The judiciary has denounced it. Is there any possibility that you would see the emergence of a real opposition to the Islamic Brotherhood in Egypt as a result of this?
Well, maybe, but the truth is that this opposition, first of all, I would wager, is smaller than the Brotherhood. You know, tomorrow there are going to be, or they're expected to be, rival demonstrations in Cairo, one by the opposition to the regime, the other by the Brotherhood. Typically, the Brotherhood brings out hundreds of thousands of people to maybe thousands brought out by the opposition. The other problem is that opposition is a hopelessly splintered group of people. There are holdouts from the old regime, there are Coptic Christians, there is a, quote, liberal bloc, although how liberal it is open to question. And those internal fissures tell. Ultimately, the Muslim Brotherhood is capable of acting as a bloc, and the Muslim Brotherhood holds the reins of power. That gives them tremendous advantages.
Let me try to relate this to last week's issue, which was Hamas, the Gaza Strip, the Israelis. Hamas obviously expected to get more support from Egypt, I think, than they got. Clearly, Mohamed Morsi is now preoccupied with his domestic problems. Where does that leave the issue of the Palestinians and the Israelis right now?
Well, it's the same limbo that they've been in now for many, many years. And that really has something to do with the failure, A, within the Palestinian community to reconcile or agree on some kind of government. You've got one Palestine in the West Bank, a very different Palestine in the Gaza Strip. More deeply, the problem the Palestinians have is that they have never really been able to decide whether they are a movement structured for the defeat and destruction of Israel, or they actually want something resembling a nation state with institutions and, you know, everything that nation states do. Right now, the forces within the Palestinian community that are winning, Hamas, are really interested in using their territory as just a staging ground for attacks on Israel. For the time being, I don't see Mohamed Morsi supporting that precisely for the reasons that you say. He has his own fish to fry in Cairo.
All right. Thank you very much, Brett.